Hi everyone, this is Jacqueline Castro, and this is the BOLO version 12 shortcomings and wishlist video. So we're going to first start off with talking a little bit about the shortcomings of this semester. So here are a few of the user stories that we were not able to implement or did not get to reach it. So the first one is the BOLO 26/76. Which is filtering BOLOs by category or agency. So although the application has a full text search bar, which allows you to search by agency or category or any keyword, our project owners did want the option to have a little filtering tab as well to further narrow down search results. So they wanted to be able to filter by just category or by agency, and that was something that we did not get to implement. We didn't have the time. So that's one of the shortcomings we had, although the full text search bar acts as a workaround to this functionality. The second shortcoming is BOLO 71. So again, this is another user story that we never got to reach, and it was implementing the Edit About Us page in the admin dashboard. So as of right now, there is the link to this page as well as the Edit User Guide page and the Edit Login page. They have their own links, but when you click on it, there is no page after that. So that's something that we never had time to start, was creating those pages. So that's something that the next team will have to take care of, and find out what exactly Jason and Frank, our product owners, want in these pages. And then we have BOLO 78, which is the implement forgot password functionality on login screen. So this is something that my team member Yavanis did attempt to implement in the last sprint, so sprint 6. He thought it would be something quite simple, but it ended up being a lot more complex than he had first imagined. So although he did start implementing it, he was never able to finish it. And that's just when you first run the application, it takes you to the login screen, and under the login area there's a forgot password link, so that link isn't working right now. Then we have the BOLO 90 user story. So this is something that we did try to implement, and it is very simple. However, Frank and Jason haven't been able to get the Exchange server set up yet. So that's something that, since we didn't have access to the Exchange server yet, we weren't able to fully complete. But once the next team, or whichever team does have access to the Exchange server, it is something very easy to get done, and it would just be going into the code and changing the SMTP URL address to the server. And I believe Giovanni's explained this in his installation and maintenance guide video. And then we have BOLO 94, which is fix how information is populated on editing form when editing BOLO or user. And this is a user story that I tried to complete, but it did prove to be a lot more complex than it sounds. So basically what it is that the BOLOs and users have the option to be edited. So once you click edit BOLO or edit user, it takes you to the editing form, which pre-populates all of the entry fields with that BOLO or user's information. But there are certain fields that are either drop-down menus or date pickers that don't correctly pre-populate that data from that BOLO or user when you click edit, so it just shows up as an empty field. and that's something that obviously we don't want, because if somebody goes to edit a user and then they don't remember the agency that the user is from or the tier, they won't be able to, uh, you know, pick the right choice unless they cancel the editing form, try to remember what the agency and the tier is, and then go back in and plug it in and edit whatever else they needed to edit. So um, it everything uh, all the fields that are having issues with pre-populating the information when you're trying to edit are the drop down menus, the date pickers, and the time pickers. Since those are special entry fields, they're not just text input fields. They are a little bit trickier with getting information to show pre-populated or like default information to show. So that's something that I kind of was able to almost finish, but there are a few fields left that I wasn't able to completely figure out. So now we're going to go on to the wish list section. So the first item in the wish list is bulk user creation with Excel CSV upload. So this is something, these are features that in the future possibly we will be able to implement. They are not 100% necessary right now. So the first item is basically is, as an administrator, giving them the possibility to upload an Excel or CSV file with multiple users in those files and upload those users or create them in bulk instead of having to manually add each user into the system one by one. Then we have the edit SMTP server information. So this is for administrators also, and it's being able to give them the ability to easily edit the SMTP server information without needing a developer to do it on the back end. So that way, if the MS Exchange server changes to another type of server, or any type of changes are done to that email server, the administrator can easily change that information without having to need the developer to do it, or get into all that nitty gritty. Then the next one is a BOLO owner inactivity reminder, and this is for BOLO owners, and it's giving them the ability to be reminded to update a BOLO, so that BOLOs are kept up to date. So it's basically like a notification system that every, I don't know, few days or weeks, notification is sent to that BOLO owner and reminded them to update that BOLO with any new information or discoveries that have come along about that BOLO. And then there's the BOLO reminder custom message functionality. That this one is for the administrator, and it's giving them the ability to create a custom message for the for the inactivity reminder, so that they can make it custom for every different type of BOLO that is being sent, or if there's a difference between the message per user, they can be able to manage that as well. So, and then the next one is adding error confirmation messages. So it kind of blends into the UI improvements functionality, which is just basically making the whole flow of the application smoother. So let's say they are adding a user into the system, and the user already exists with the same email as the one that they are trying to add, or with the same username. As of right now, there is no message that pops down saying a user already exists with this email, please try another email, or anything like that, as well as any other errors that occur when you're trying to add a BOLO or agency. So that's something that would really help the user itself, is being able to add error and confirmation messages so that they can know when something was successfully created or uploaded, or when something was not successfully created or uploaded and why. So it's just error handling, as well as improving the UI and the flow of things. Maybe speeding up the loading time of certain pages, or how certain items are rendered onto the page and queried from the database. Slight changes like that will improve the whole flow of the system and make it much more dummy proof and fluid for any user to use. And then the last one is implementing the About Us page, or function. So when you first go into the login screen, there's an About Us button, and the About Us button takes you to these three different pages. So there's the MDCACP page, the FIU's contribution page, and the About Us page. Now, all of them are created, but none of them have information in them or anything like that. So that's something that they would also have to eventually implement and understand exactly what it is that Frank and Jason would want in these pages. Um, so these are all wish list items. Um, thank you for watching. So this has been the shortcomings and wishlist video. If there's any questions regarding any of these items or anything about the project itself, please feel free to contact any of us. Thank you for watching again.